Hey, welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast with your host, Hannah Ness. That's me. You found me. Let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to ground ourselves in our greatness because it's what we do. Okay, so my great thing from yesterday was my children took their iPhone, which I don't have an iPhone. So we had an old iPhone that I finally found at my sister's, which my child must have taken it there. But I needed to get on and see what my podcast looked like on the Apple side of things. And I hadn't seen that in a while. So I had to find this phone. I finally found it, and it was sitting on my desk because I had been doing research and I had a couple episodes pulled up and I was wanting to look at Apple Analytics and see just how it's surfacing to people. And so I had it pulled up and I was in the other room and my daughter came in so excited, my 7-year-old, and she goes, Mom, this is you. This is you on this podcast. This is you, the death of a dream. That's you. And I'm like, yep. That's what mommy does. That's when I say that I'm working, that's what I'm doing. And she just like went into my 4-year-old and she's like, Baylor, this is mom. Listen, this is mom's voice. This is our mom, right? And they were floored. Now, I had told them that I was doing a podcast, but I guess I didn't realize that they don't know what that means or what that is. And, you know, yesterday they were amazed and in shock that their mom could be found on an iPhone. What? Right? And it made me just realize that this isn't going away. This is only leading me closer to where I want to go. And yes, have I had to make some very hard decisions? Yes. At some point, you know, I remember being asked to give this podcast up, to stop this and go backwards, and to just give it all up and to make it not exist anymore. And in that moment, I just remember feeling like I won't undo this. Even if this becomes nothing, this is something. Bottom line, I'm showing and modeling the behavior of what it looks like to go after something that you know in your bones is something that you love. And if for no other reason than to show my daughters that you can show up and keep fighting for yourself, and that you can have a dream and a goal for your life and you can go do it. And regardless of anyone's opinion or ideas of whether or not you're good, it still has a place in this world. And I truly believe that these words and thoughts wouldn't be put into my head if they weren't meant to go somewhere, because they don't stop coming. And you know, it can be as simple as like me just washing our deck and realizing that this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Or, you know, who knows what that connection is going to be, but I stopped questioning whether or not these thoughts had a space in this world. And I just started knowing and understanding that they did, and if they didn't, that wasn't for me to decide, right? That's for all of you to decide. If this connects with you, if this gives you something, and that doesn't mean that you're going to listen to every episode, right? But if this gives you anything, and this is a moment in your life where you need to hear this, that's what I want to be for people. And that's for all of you to decide. Am I that person for you, or am I not? And if you listen to any of these episodes and you go, well, she's not, all I ask is that you keep going, that you don't give up on yourself. I know I'm not going to be the right fit for everyone. I can only promise that I won't be, right? But I don't want you to stop. If you found this, if someone shared it with you, and even if you say this isn't for me, good. At least you know what you stand for enough to know that it isn't. I think that that is beautiful. And I ask you to not stop. There are so many people out there doing this work that there is no question that there's someone who's going to speak to you. And as you continue to grow and move through different points of your life, this may be something that you need. It may not be something you need right now, but there's a reason that it came to you, and this may not be the moment, but it's here in case it ever is. Right? And so my great thing was that my children got to understand what I'm doing, right? And not fully, and I guess I didn't realize that they didn't understand what I was doing, but they got to see that firsthand or hear what I do. And, the only thing that I think is super cool is that I exist for them beyond this physical space, right? No matter what happens with all of this. If my physical presence is called upon to leave this world, my children, who will always find me important, will always be able to find this. They will always have this in their lives, right? And some of you are like, well, the other day you said the F word and you yelled a lot. You shouldn't want your kids to listen to that. No, I do. I do want them to know how fiercely passionate I was about people living their lives. And even if it takes a cuss word or two, right? Sometimes that's where we get led. We can't help it. And what I know my children understand is that we have choices. Some of us choose to express ourselves with colorful language when time calls for it, and some of us choose not to. But you have a choice to use the words that you feel called to use. Right? That's their choice. I don't want them to be the third grader that I was, learning every cuss word in the book behind the slide because my parents never said a cuss word, right? And so then I would say cuss words because it was so cool and so my kids know what they are, and they still get to have a choice whether or not they use them. Now, they choose not to, but I want them to know what they are. Jeez Louise. I don't know. And there are a million different ways to parent. So if you're a parent and you're saying, oh, I would never teach my kid the F word, they're about 2 TikToks away from hearing it and saying it out loud at some point. So trust, we're all about to be there. Then don't put your kids on TikTok. Okay, don't put your kids on TikTok. Okay. Then don't let them be on TikTok. I don't know. It's fine. But I think I believe in the value of knowing that it exists because I experienced not knowing that cuss words existed. And as such, I use those words all the time, so much that I had to coach myself back into what my verbiage looked like without it. Right? Not perfect. Obviously still use cuss words, but I promise you a significant amount less than I used to. And not because of my kids, more because of my lack. More because of this new mental space where I'm not so angry that I'm cussing at the entire world. Okay? all the time because I'm just so mad and I get so excited. And when I get excited and when I do those things, and most of the time it looked like anger, and the anger streamed in this beautifully put together stream of cuss words. And honestly, probably one of the best, well-versed swearers that exists in this world. I don't know if that's a title, but in case you find out it is, please message me because I would love to collect my prize. But it's because of the amount of anger that I had towards this world, towards where I was at in life. And now that I've kind of shifted out of that season of my life, it was a long one, I don't feel the need to call on those things as much, right? So my great thing was, my kids know what podcasts are, and they know that I have one, and they listen to my voice, and they felt like that was really cool. And that's whether or not this blows up or it becomes a thing, that fact right there, the fact that my kids are always going to know that I didn't give up, that this is something that I wanted to do. And so I did it. And even when they're 30 or 40 or 50, they're going to, hopefully podcasts are still a thing. They're going to be able to pull this up and know that their mom did something, right? And hopefully they'll be able to pull it up and rescue themselves from maybe a low point if I'm not around. So that's my great thing. Take time today to celebrate yourself for your great thing. Mine was kind of a cop-out great thing because it involved my kids, but kind of in a trickle-down effect type of way. It was my great thing. So how does this tie into what we're going to talk about today? Well, let's go ahead and dive in. Today we're talking about how to make friends as an adult. This is like one of the top things that I struggled with early in my adulthood / literally probably a year ago. And I would say this all the time and time again. Like, you can ask every single one of my friends. I would always say this, like, I don't know how to make friends as an adult. So I'm just like really struggle with that. But like, how do you ask a mom that you think is cool to like hang out? I don't know. I really struggle with that. And I think the reason I struggled with it is because I wasn't really about anything. Like, really about it. I really had no depth. I was surface level to everything, and no one could really pick up on what I was putting down. Now, I was very blessed to be loved by some Enneagram 2s who want to be friends with everyone, and so they just don't give up trying to be your friend. I talked about one of my very best friends, Kelly, on last week's episode. But how do you make friends? And so I had to start being about specific things and wanting specific things. And prior to being able to make any friends, I was making friends based on what my job was about. And another one of my friends, sheesh Louise, I'm like friend dropping all over the place, actually texted me this morning. Society ties our identity to our job as the first thing that many people ask, right? And so, you know, when you have a job and you're about that job, but you know that that isn't all that exists to you, but that's the only thing that really exists because that's the only thing that you do. Oh yeah, I am this thing. Oh, and I have kids and a job, but we don't really put worth and depth into those things as much as we do our jobs, right? So when our jobs become who we are, it's hard for people to relate to us unless they work with us, which is why we all have so many dang work friends, right? Because we struggle to tap into depth outside of that because society calls us to be about that one thing, right? To be about our jobs. And so I want to flip the script and really say, like, here's the opportunity to start being about things. Start finding depth in more than just your work. And you're sitting here and you're going, yesterday you told me to do self-improvement. And one of those things on the list that I find most important is doing something you love every day just because you love it. And I talked about that in my blog. So if you want to check that out, that's like the 5 easy steps to adding self-improvement to your day, right? And self-improvement, I think, has such a negative connotation, but it really shouldn't, because, dude, none of us are perfect. Like, literally, no person is walking around on this earth like, hey, really got it all figured out. If you do find that person, avoid them, because they don't, okay? We all should be improving, and one of the most vital steps is finding something that you just enjoy doing for the pure enjoyment of doing it. That's why this podcast exists. I literally just enjoyed calling and talking to people and talking to people and talking more. And every time that I did that, I would feel this energy surge that I couldn't give away. And whether it was training someone and connecting with someone that way and educating, or it was having meetings and being able to talk through an idea, I would always have such an energy surge. And so part of my morning routine, you're part of it, was doing this podcast. It always has been, for the last 1.5 years. So that was a thing before it ever actually became a thing. I just started doing this because I purely enjoyed doing it. And anytime that it would shift into this place where I didn't enjoy it anymore, where it got stressful, I would pull back, right? Like, okay, if we can't understand how to publish and that's starting to get stressful, then let's not go there. Let's give ourselves a break and let's just keep doing this thing, right? But then as I started to find footing and confidence, and I built a schedule around being able to do this and come up with concepts and do all of that, then I could start expanding and creating this thing. So the beauty of that is in acknowledging and loving that I just love doing podcasts, and that if I could just speak, that would be something that I did. I made this beautiful friendship out of just enjoying podcasting and owning that moment, right? So about 2 months after I launched, I would have this amazing person come into my life, and she kind of did a shout out on a board in a Facebook group that I'm in. Hey, I'm looking for people to come onto my podcast. You can apply here. And so I did apply, and I was like, oh, my platform, The Death of a Dream, really wasn't built up well enough for me to be able to pitch what I was doing there. So I just banked on like the one thing that I knew something about, and that was healthcare. And so I pitched that to Karina, and she was like, healthcare, go. Yes, let's talk about that all day long. And so what was supposed to be about a half-hour interview on her podcast turned into like a 3.5-hour conversation about all things. And we made such a deep connection that I was just like, oh, hey, yeah, I love podcasting, but like, you're pretty cool. We should get jackets or something. I don't know. Let's see where this goes. And so that kind of full circle, turned into this like beautiful friendship. And now we're doing calls because, you know, she lives all the way in Canada, but we do weekly calls just to like connect as friends. And I had struggled with this idea of how you make friends as an adult. And I think the main struggle was that I really wasn't giving of my time to people I wanted to be friends with in the first place, but I also wasn't giving of things that I wanted to be about, right? I wasn't willing to say out loud what I was and what I wanted to be about. And that's why I couldn't really make friends. I didn't really stand anywhere. I kind of just went wherever everyone else pulled me. And the second that I started having depth in things that mattered to me, I start to attract friends, not just twos, but I'm so blessed to have some Enneagram twos that were willing to love me regardless of how many times I kind of pushed them away, and keep showing up to be the best friend possible to me. But like, people can't make decisions. I've talked about this week. People can't really make decisions about who you are if you don't stand for anything. Right? And even in your job, you can find depth there, but you have to kind of have something about you. It can't just be your job. That's not enough. And then, even if it is just going to be your job, what do those relationships with even your work friends look like outside of that? Do they have any depth outside of here? Do you actually know that person? Are those conversations about more than just a continued work conversation where we kind of talk about your kids and your life, but we don't get too deep? It always kind of comes back to work, right? And so I wanted more. I wanted deeper relationships with people that stood on things that I cared about. And so I put that stake in the ground, right? Like, I want to make friends who do podcasts. Like, I want to have friends who say, oh, I do a podcast, right? I want to have like podcast friends. And then I want to have mom friends who just really love their kids and want to love my kids. And we grow through that relationship together. And I want to have friends who really want to like hustle and grow and move up in this world and be about something. And I want to have friends who care about the community and who want to make where we live a better place. And those are things that I want to stand for. And so now that I have those claims out into the world, people know how to relate to me. And the most important part of that is people know when not to relate to me because they aren't about those things. And that is the biggest key to making friends. You don't want to be friends with everyone. Because that was me. I was just like, oh, I'll be your friend. Oh, I'll be your friend. I'm kind of friends with this person. But then when I really dug deeper into that, I was like, I have no friends. There is not one person on my list of friends that I could call to help me move my house. I have no friends. And I think I said that probably about 9 months ago. And probably about 9 months ago, I started to really understand that I wasn't about anything. There was nothing about me of worth outside of my workplace. I really was just humdrum everywhere else. And so I start realizing that I want to be about more. I want to be about something of depth. And I start to explore that. Right? And the second that I start to explore these things and I start adopting new habits into my life that revolve around things that I just want to do, like I just want to read a book, I start attracting new crowds because I stand for something other than just my job, right? And so the biggest thing that I can say is don't be afraid to stand for something. This is good. Just attracting every community possible may lead you down a lower path than a higher one. Don't just be about everything so you attract every person. And I know for my 2 friends who listen to this, Enneagram 2s, that's hard. But be about specific things and attract and repel people who aren't about those things. It's okay. you don't want everybody, I promise you. Okay? So the second that you start putting stakes in the ground for who you want to be and what you want to be about, you will attract it. That's it. You'll attract those people, you will. And the ones who are supposed to come into your life will, and they will stay. And the ones who aren't will just be a part of that season, and they'll go, and that's okay. But I promise you, the people who are meant to stay will. They will. And you'll start attracting it when you start becoming even more. So that's like the soup to nuts on how to make friends. And that isn't like crazy specific. Here's the exact list. This is it. Be about things. Explore things you think you want to be about. That curiosity is so beautiful and inspiring. And even if it's just like something that's put in your head, like, oh, maybe I would enjoy podcasting. Maybe I would enjoy podcasting. Even if that's just something, try it out. Try recording. Just record. And then try it for more than just that one time. Keep going. Keep exploring. You'll never really know until you go to that place, but you'll start attracting a beautiful whole community around you when you put a stake in the ground. So today, I believe my podcast with one of my best friends, Karina, launches today. So if you want to check that out, she's just literally such a beautiful light in this world. If you want to check that out, you can go over to Karina Talks Too Much podcast. You can just search that wherever you listen to this, and you can hear our friend episode. And it's literally just about podcasting and the legacy that it creates and how beautiful that is. And honestly, if you just want to hear like an honest conversation between two friends, that's pretty much what it is. And I don't know, but the moment that I created depth in my life was the moment that I started to have deeper friendships come out of the woodworks, right? And now I'm investing time back into those friends, and I'm finding time for them, because those are the things that are going to grow you wholly as a person. And it's so funny because I had this kind of thought that I wanted to talk about creating friends, and I open up I'm still doing 100 Days to Brave, which I got from my friend Kelly. And I open up my page, I'm on day 41. Who you do life with matters as much as what you do. And so I always kind of look for what words and what things are pointing me in this direction, and do I even want to go here, and do I even want to really talk about making friends as an adult? And I was like, I don't know. And I was still struggling with it. And then I sat down and I opened up 100 Days to Brave by Annie F. Downs. And I opened it up to that page. And I realized, yup, we're going to go there. Here we go. So all I can say is you need people. You need a community. You need people to support and love you and where you want to go in life. Don't be above that. And that's where I was for a long time. Like, oh, I just don't know how to make friends, so I'm just not going to. And I'll make fun of anyone who does have a friend because honestly, I'm just jealous. Be about more than that, because those people can take you to higher heights, right? And challenge your community and attract people who do have different perspectives and knowledge, and open your life up to those people as it creates beauty. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this community. as always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Sorry. Dang it, I always get distracted. All right, we're going to record intro now. Let's go. Hey, thank you so much for being a part of this community. I'm so inspired by all of you. Yesterday, I saw amazing work by one of my favorite listeners. Sorry, yes, I have favorites. This is no longer your parents, saying they don't have favorites. They do. Trust me. I know I'm both of my parents' favorites. You know why? Because I'm like the perfect mix of both of them, and none of my other siblings are. They're all, I would say my other middle sister is probably a pretty good mix of them, but I'm just saying parents have favorites, and I'm both of my parents' favorites, and I think they go in and out. Being a parent, I can say there are just days where the other kid's your favorite. Anyways, whatever. Sorry, I have favorites. I have favorite listeners. Okay, so one of my favorite listeners is just doing such amazing, beautiful work. And if I've had any piece of that, wow, then this was all worth it, right? And you never know how your story might contribute to someone else's story. So my biggest thing is leave a legacy and don't pretend like your story has no worth in this world. Right? It does. Okay? Anyone who can find themselves in spaces where you've been is a beautiful thing. So, sorry, that's like a complete side note. Today we're actually talking about how to make friends as an adult. This is a topic that severely hurt me for a long time. I don't know how to make friends. I don't have any. I want them, but I don't know how to get them. And so instead of because this is where my head goes because I'm a 7, creating a make friends app, which literally I have it in one of my idea notebooks, how to make friends as an adult. Maybe we need to have a dating app for friends. Actual idea that I wrote down. Instead of doing that, I just started really putting a stake in the ground for things that I cared about and I wanted to be about. And I didn't really take time to explore any of those things because I was just so caught up in my day-to-day that I never really looked to explore friendships outside of that day-to-day. And the second that I kind of sign up for myself and for the things that I want to be about, I start attracting friends and actually having real friendships with people that I connect with on a daily, sometimes weekly, but mostly daily to every other day basis, right? And I didn't do anything except for start being about something. And we talk about that in all different kinds of ways here because we're talking about living life on your terms and empowering your life and being about the things that you want to be about and not holding yourself back from those things. But the second that you find that depth and you start creating that and you start talking about those things, you start to attract people who want to be about those things too. And so I now have friends, and I can say not even 9 months ago, I had all of maybe one who I had any depth with. And now I have so many friends. It's amazing. And all I did was start to be about something. And I talk about one of those friendships that's been seriously impactful as I've been on this podcast journey. And you're going to get to come alongside that and how I did that. So thank you for being here. As always, let's go. Or I think I say let's dive in. Let's dive in. Okay, we're done recording for the day.